Read on Reddit.
What is the stupidest thing you got in trouble for at school? Bonethread 3Y got suspended from school for breaking an already broken desk. All I did was put the broken desk leg inside the desk so no one would get hurt. My mom thought it was so stupid, she ended up renting me a few video games for my week of suspension. 10/10 would do it again. Now with more chocolate. 3Y same here. School was convinced my postcode ended in a Y when I knew it was a Z. Got told off and threatened to call my mom in to talk about my behavior when she came to pick me up. I brought my mom and myself and asked her to tell the teacher our postcode. Next time I got a letter at school, the postcode was a Z. Black box. -3Y set the monitor screen upside down with Control Alt down arrow and got sent home. Morbid mongoose. 3Y someone did that to the class computer when I was in 3rd grade. Since it was one of those big old CRTs, the teacher just flipped it over and went on with his day. Zenova 3603Y I did it to a college at work at my old job. It was an LCD on a swivel mount arm. She just turned it upside down and it sat that way for months. She never asked IT about it. Platypus PhD 3Y I mean if it works. Beowulf 2413Y stopping a playground fight. They each got a week of in-school suspension. I got 2 weeks. No tolerance is complete bullshit. The Overlord 7473Y I got referral for being pushed down a flight of stairs by a bully. He got a detention, but no, I get punished more because I must have provoked him. Yes, because the school bully needs a reason. UK detention is 1 hour after school. Referral means entire school day in a room, working in silence. PMME birds of prey. 3Y next time push him down and say it was him who provoked you. If you can get away with it, set him on fire too. Fallout Shelter Boy. 3Y then after he's unconscious inject him with heroin and say he was trying to sell it to you. Can't get beat up if he's in jail. Zenova 3603Y I got detention for going to class in gym shorts because someone hid my skirt after pay. Teacher actually told me to go to class and she would look for it. Math teacher was an owl bitch and gave me detention. Deleted. 3Y I once got a letter sent home for pretending to play RuneScape in real life with my friends in primary school. We were all between the ages 10-11 and used fallen branches as equipment such as an axe to woodcut. I was completely baffled and my parents didn't say a word as they felt the same. Hey girl, PM me nudes. 3Y probably because they didn't want fucking noobs on their property. I bet they didn't send the guy in full bandos home. Stingray 200 2013Y I got in trouble in kindergarten for refusing to do an assignment that required 2 hands, a week after I broke my right hand, and couldn't trace either hand for a turkey hand. Vesca 3Y shoulda just traced the cast, told him it was a real unfortunate turkey. I am Steve 423Y this turkey was in an accident. Mitch Hedberg. Field soft note. 3Y kid next to me made a stupid noise and the teacher didn't like me so he blamed me, gave me a lunch detention. I said it wasn't me and the kid next to me admitted to it. We both got a lunch detention. Morbid mongoose. 3Y that'll teach you. Field soft note. 3Y it sure did. Gariv 83 at work. 3Y that'll learn ya for being all adjacent. Wise guy 723Y that's some the teacher never got over his spurned love for your dead mother. Level teacher discipline. Greeta Speedo 3Y I got a detention for shaking my chocolate milk in a suggestive manner. When I asked the principal what the fuck he was talking about, he just kept saying things like you know what I'm talking about and quit playing dumb. I still have no fucking idea what he was talking about. Scotastic Purple 3Y I threw a pee in the cafeteria in 4th grade. When I brought the write-up slip home to be signed, my dad's only comment was thankfully it wasn't a lima bean. Those can be deadly. Dookie Offban 3Y I once got in trouble because I scored full marks on a test we were marking because the teacher believed I had lied when I was marking it, then said I was copying the girl next to me who got like 75%, then just straight said I'd cheated, took me out of class and just screamed at me. The next time we did a test I got full marks again and just told her I'd got 75%. She didn't believe me, dragged me to the front of the class and read out my answers. They were all like, that's 100%. Then proceeded to get screamed at for lying about it, mocked for not being able to count and yet getting 100% on the test, etc. There was nothing I could do to please this scummy human being. Deleted. 3Y I was on crutches for a month in middle school and was usually late to every class by a minute or so. The teachers didn't care about that. I was quiet when I finally got to where I needed to be and well behaved otherwise. However, one day I was later than normal to my home economics class and missed the directions to not open the folder at my desk. I come in quietly and sit down without disrupting anything, see a folder with my name on it, and open it because what's that? Is that mine? This was before the first Harry Potter movie, but Mrs. Eichler had the Snape swoop down and that's what she did. Despite the fact that everyone agreed I wasn't there for her directions and didn't know better, she said I should have known not to open the folder because no one else was looking at theirs. Detention. For opening a folder. With my name on it. Full of empty notebook paper. It was for some sort of project she wanted us to do, I don't remember, but I was angry. Showed up to the detention that afternoon and the vice principal hosting asked why I was there, because detentions weren't handed out all willy-nilly and she was the one who told my teachers I was allowed to be late while on crutches. She was really nice. Told her, she told me to get out while the buses were still outside. Never served my detention, never heard anything about it again. But I hated Mrs. Eichler. She was super annoying. Damn dog inapprops 3y I had a sort of similar issue in 12th grade. FYI, I'm a good student and graduated 17th in my class of 400. Every day my friend and I had government in the 200 building, which was, as it sounds, literally on the opposite side of the campus from our first period class in the 900 building. The only way we could have had a longer walk was if we were in classroom over. Therefore, literally every day we walked into the classroom 20 seconds before the bell rang. At my school, if you weren't seated when the bell rang, you immediately got 2 detentions. You see where this is going, I'm sure. Regardless, we were never once late, until one day all of the locks in our section of lockers was vandalized. Every lock had been cut off and all the books strewn onto the ground, SoCal equals outside campus. As a result, it took us several minutes to gather up our stuff, and so we ended up walking in the door right as the bell rang, and Mrs. Bitchaface excitedly proclaimed, "Ha, you're both late. 2 detentions." We tried to explain what happened and she didn't believe us. Fortunately, our senior counselor was there, who was a very nice lady, to talk to us about colleges, and she stepped in and said, "No, they're right, 27 locks were cut off at the end of the 400 building early this morning." The counselor totally saved us from 2 unjust detentions. I actually thanked her later on for speaking up. And, again, this was AP government and I was an outstanding student. Mrs. Bitchaface just thought we were slackers for arriving only 20 seconds early every single day, and never asked why we did so. Star 7863Y am fluent in French and I was in a French class in junior high. The teacher got mad at me for speaking French too quick to her and gave me detention. Mercrazibones 3Y fat will teach ya to speak French in French class. Dej McDejson 3Y I literally came into this thread to say that I once got a detention for speaking French in French class. Star 7863Y wow same. Furroy 3Y Lee Croissant. SI activist 3Y detention. Bear Dindine 3Y Omelette du fromage. Sinberger 3Y there was a bilingual kid in my school that moved to our town from somewhere in Quebec, French being his first language. French classes are mandatory in our province up until grade 10, so he was forced to sit in on them. He refused to do any of the work because from his perspective it was pointless kindergarten level crap, so the French teacher was failing him in the class. His parents came to the school and started laying into the French teacher, in French, and she had to ask them to speak English because she couldn't speak French well enough. Fortunately the principal realized how dumb the whole situation was, had the teacher modify his grades, and transferred him to the other French class where his new teacher allowed him to treat it as a spare class TLDR. Mandatory French classes are dumb and so are half the teachers for them apparently. Lamnub 3Y remember, the principal is your pal. Deleted. 3Y when we were learning log functions in high school math I got detention for answering a question correctly on the blackboard using a method my teacher did not approve of. Essentially, it is really easy to just divide ln instead of doing it longhand. My dad taught me the method the night before and it made things a lot simpler. When I got called up to solve the problem on the board, the teacher ran over and immediately erased what I had written and scolded me that I was teaching students how to cheat. She let the class know that if anyone used my method, she would mark them wrong. Kind of blew my mind. I understand I might have been skipping ahead a little bit, but the detention just seemed ridiculous. Edit. Minor correction. Also, the detention was more than likely because I kept pressing her why it wasn't an acceptable method to use. She didn't have a reason other than, "That's not the way I am teaching it." I seem to recall saying, "Well, that seems stupid," and her response was something along the lines of, "Well, since you think it's stupid and didn't use the method I taught, why don't you come in during lunch and we will work on some problems using the method you will be showing on the test." It was an exercise in power to limit dissent and bring order to the realm. Also, I would probably pimp slap my cocky 16-year-old face if I had to deal with me at that age too. New Machinist 223 Why how dare you try to make things easier. It talk 2 pineapples 3 Why I once got the time put chair for breaking 2 rules, coloring an elephant purple with my left hand. Elephants aren't light purple, they're gray. Turns out I'm colorblind. Don't use your left hand for coloring. Turns out I'm left-handed. Well, what can ya do? This was 26 years ago in West Virginia. I'm mostly over it by now. Edit. Holy wow, my inbox. Thank you for the words of encouragement. You guys are the best. Stingray 200 2013. Why but not fully over it to the point you won't genetically engineer left-handed purple elephants, right? Never been stung. 3 Why you are what they call an idea man. Welcome aboard. 4 more replies. Dix Haney 3 Why ATA once yelled at me for coloring a person with a brown crayon instead of peach. I asked why. Some people look like that. And she said, just never mind, as though she realized she was being stupid. 3 more replies. Roach Girl 3 Why I had a teacher always yanking the crayon or whatever out of my left hand and putting it in my right. This was only about 17 years ago in Chicago. Esferent Time 3 Why I took a small class in college and one day we discovered that 6 out of 9 of us were left-handed. One of the right-handed girls had been born a lefty and then forced to switch. This was only 3 years ago. Roach Girl 3 Why I also had a patient freak out on me when I was a receptionist when she saw me writing with my left. Screaming sinister and shit, like I can't believe people still react like that. Ririruby 3 Why that sucks. My colorblind friend was encouraged by our year 8, 12/13 years old, art teacher to color whatever color he saw the things as if he wanted to. I remember he told me she said if he wanted to draw the grass purple he could go for it. She's not a tree dashy 3 Why actually it could make some cool art. I'd like to see a series of a colorblind person painting things the colors that look right to them. Deleted. 3 Why colorblind person here. I remember getting in trouble for coloring people's skin orange. To my eye, coloring something very lightly with orange made them look like a normal, Caucasian shade of skin. Apparently it just makes them look orange. I also grew up thinking purple was just dark blue, so there's that. Pipsqueak 7373 Why coloring lightly with orange looks fine to me. Deleted. 3 Why depends on the orange. I wasn't even making a Trump joke. A Plepwins 3 Why same here, except I tended to make skin tone light green instead of orange. You can always tell if someone is colorblind because they would refuse to use the Ross Art crayons because they don't list the color on the label. Gathor all 3 Why or just has sense not to use terrible crayons. Regret Desi 3 Why you got punished for unintentionally being creative with your color choices? What the hell? The Humdee Flaming P3 Why if we look past that and assume they were worried he would become used to not following directions if it said to color the elephant a proper color, he got in trouble for being left-handed? Redrew 893 Why as baffling as it might seem, there has been a remarkably strong stigma against left-handedness, being seen as abnormal or atypical. Also, West Virginia, so that also offers some explanation. Pineapple Goat 3 Why there's a religious taboo against left-handedness in some cultures, which is probably why he specifically mentioned West Virginia. From Wikipedia, the right hand of God is the favored hand. For example, Jesus sits at God's right side. God's left hand, however, is the hand of judgment. The Archangel Gabriel is sometimes called God's left hand, sits at God's left side, and is one of 6 angels of death. Those who fall from favor with God are sent to left, as described in Matthew 25:32-33, in which sheep represent the righteous and goats represent the fallen, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right, but the goats on his left. Enforced right-handedness was a common feature of Catholic schools until very recently. Deleted. 3 Why I got in trouble for sitting Indian style at the lunch table. Apparently that's inappropriate at a private Christian school. Edit. I am not a female nor was I wearing a skirt. I was also only 5 years old. Smash 3 Why I actually lost points on a math test for not having high enough socks. Deleted. 3 Why that is the worst reason I've heard of for deducting points. Hey, Smash, your socks aren't high enough. You have an A- now. Lucasade 2283 Why reminds me of Don Mattingly on The Simpsons. Lost Patronus 3 Why I forgot to get my mum to sign my school diary. Resulted in a 15-minute lunchtime detention which then extended to 30 minutes because of a misunderstanding between my teacher and the teacher supervising the detention. It's the only detention I ever received. Cheers for that, Mrs. Salmon. Edit. For all the people messaging me asking if we had the same teacher, I'm from Victoria, Australia. I'm pretty sure the teacher in question has been retired for a long time, so it's unlikely it's the same person. Queen Ophthra 3 Why if I ever didn't get it signed, I would just sign it and tell my form tutor it was my nan's signature. Worked like a charm. Way to Beredditwork 3 Why we had the same thing at my school. Once I started getting detentions for not getting it signed, I just started signing it myself. Deleted. 3 Why my friend's mom worked at the school. She was super strict and didn't let her daughter do anything. She watched her daughter and all of her daughter's friends like a hawk. Anytime I did anything, she would call my mother. I got in trouble for eating 2 brownies instead of 1 at lunch, playing a very mild game of truth or dare with my friends, going to the bathroom too much during recess, putting glitter hair mascara in my hair when I got to school. It was the late 90s, just anything. After a while, my mom had to ask her to stop calling because some of the stuff was just stupid, but I still got in trouble for it. Basically, this woman thought I was a bad influence on her daughter. I should have just stopped hanging out with the girl, but neither of us had a ton of friends and I loved her too much. Fast forward 20 years and I graduated college and am married with a family. Her daughter had 4 kids out of wedlock, dropped out of college, and married a felon. Don't smother your kids. Surl 3Y Wow. You were obviously a really bad influence on that girl, and she was such a good influence on you. How could you? Deleted. 3Y 2nd grade. We're having a bathroom break. This kid is talking about how if you do good things you go to heaven. So I chimed in, if you do bad things, you go to hell. That fucker reported me. Ziggy dropped 3Y. For some reason I'm imagining little Louis CK saying you're gonna die one day. And so is your mom and everyone you know. Spelling error 3Y. Accidentally stepped in mud when my foot slipped off the sidewalk during lunch hour. I tried to get as much off as I could before coming into the building, and then went up to one of the lunch peeps to ask what I should do cause I didn't want to track mud everywhere. They had me mop up what mess I had made, which I can understand, but then they made me stay in lunch detention for the remainder of the hour. For real? I was trying to be responsible, dude. Squeaky Keaton 3Y. Smiling in class. I was in 8th grade English class. To be fair, I was one of those annoying kids who thought it was funny to act out in class and did a bunch of stupid crap throughout the year. In short, I was a 13-year-old boy. But I was actually not very disruptive in this particular class because this teacher, for whatever reason, hated my guts. I got good grades, and occasionally made jokes in class, but otherwise tried to stay off of her radar most of the time. The day in question was Hat Day, a day in which you could purchase, for $1, the right to wear a hat for a day. It was some kind of fundraiser, probably for something that should have been provided by tax money, but wasn't since I lived in the South. I didn't care about hats, so I didn't buy a pass. My classmates decided that this was a travesty and could not stand. They ended up giving me their passes to wear hats. By the time class started that morning, I was wearing at least 4 hats on top of each other. It was basically like Team Fortress 2 in real life. Technically, I did have sufficient passes for all of the hats, and the rules never specified that you couldn't wear more than 1 hat, and I was still doing my work. So none of the teachers actually cared or made any mention of it for the first couple of classes. Then, English class rolls around. The teacher, who, by the way, was appropriately named Moody, saw my hats when I walked into the classroom and just looked at me in anger and disgust, like I had done some horribly atrocious and perverse thing that only she could see. She didn't say anything to me, though, and class began as normal, only with slightly fewer hats on my head. At one point, we were reading some passage and Ms. Moody looked at me with the same look of anger and disgust. I had already finished reading, so I looked back at her. Apparently I smiled, and that was also the straw that broke the back of this particular camel. Squeaky Keaton, stop smiling, she said. Everyone looked up from their books, slightly puzzled, as this is not a normal command in the classroom. I was confused, too. What? I asked. She repeated stop. Smiling, the situation was so ridiculous to me that I smiled even more. I'm sorry, Ms. Moody, I can't. Really, I said. No one in the class was reading at this point. I'm serious, Squeaky Keaton, stop smiling right now, or I'm going to give you silent lunch. This is, unfortunately, where I lost it. The whole situation was so absurd to me that I couldn't stifle laughter. To try and hide my laughter, I tried to put my head down on the desk, which sent all of the hats I had been amassing throughout the day cascading onto the floor as I giggled uncontrollably. I got silent lunch for a week. Phineas Maximus 3Y. I played basketball in middle school, and I got in trouble for saying good game to someone from the opposing team. When the coach asked me why I said that the next day before practice, I got in even more trouble for telling him we lost. But it's not that big a deal as long as we tried hard and had fun, right? We'll do better next time. He was super pissed, told me that I clearly didn't care about the team, and that I needed to think about whether I wanted to continue playing or not. Then he made me run laps the whole practice while everyone else played. I quit the next day. Sorry, but I guess middle school B team basketball just wasn't important enough to me.
If you enjoyed this video, please smash the like button below and subscribe to my channel for future videos. Thanks for watching.